Hey everyone, this is Sheets, and I'm going to be going over the lineup construction video for tomorrow's card. And haven't done a full in-depth one in a while. I guess a couple of caveats. For those of you who've been following my stuff for any period of time, um, and you watch all the other sports that I cover, I don't know what it is about UFC that forces me to get into this fancy play syndrome. But for whatever reason, every other sport I play nice and smooth and streamlined, and I have a very nice, easy process. And for whatever reason, UFC, I've decided to make it hard. I don't know why. Something about this quest to get these unique lineups that have a chance to win for UFC really is getting me into the weeds, and I enjoy it. I enjoy messing around with this, and I guarantee you this is not the optimal way to play. But I guarantee you that it is the way I am playing in the quest to find the best way to play. Um, I don't know exactly what's wrong with this approach, or probably what's wrong with it is that it's not the same every week. Uh, I mess around with different columns and different inputs every week. So this is not for the weak. Okay, honestly, it's really designed to get you guys to think about how you might want to create your own process. I guess that's better than mine. It shouldn't be so hard to do. And again, just in the name of true transparency, I like to show you guys what I'm doing. So I've already skipped ahead in the process to a couple of things. So I uploaded my projections and I ran 5,000 lineups. And I already ran the Sims, okay, and got a bunch of lineups here, and then I made just one adjustment. The one thing I did was I manually upped Priscilla Cachoeira and Nunez. I wanted to make sure to get a decent amount of that fight. Now again, that's not something I usually do, um, manually upgrade fights. But I said at the beginning of the week that I just felt as though there was something off on that inside the distance line. And that's also not something you're supposed to do as a DFS player. But nonetheless, I just see these two just slugging it out. So I just wanted to get a little bit more of that, regardless. And I made peace with that decision. Um, the other thing I'm thinking of doing, if a real easy way to do it occurs, is to take my Ryan Span exposure um in the Waldo Cortez Acosta fight and make it even more unique by leaving 400 on the table. And again, the logic behind that, it's a little flawed, but it's not that bad, is that is that optimizers are likely going to put if you had a choice between Ryan Span and Waldo Cortez Acosta, they will give you Waldo Cortez Acosta. He just has a higher median projection. So if instead of that, I take those lineups that would have otherwise had Cortez Acosta and replaced it with Ryan Span, you're going to get the Ryan Span exposure at a much lower ownership rate than you would have otherwise. Now the problem with that, and that sounds like a cool, slick way to play, the problem with that is that 400 is going to be, it's going to cost you somewhere. Okay. But what I like about doing it on this card is that I'm not too worried about losing the 400. Like, so for example, I think Vallejos is the best, raw point guy on the slate. So I don't care if I don't get up to say Blackshear or Judice or any of those other 93, 9400s that I don't even think are going to score as much as Vallejos in the first place. So I don't mind leaving that 400 on the table in the name of, getting different with, which is probably otherwise going to be sort of chalky. I think people are going to play Span. And I think likewise, I want to do something similar with Roman Delice. He's 8K, and I would make sure to leave 200 on the table in his lineup. So the way you can do that is just take the Vittori lineups that you have and just swap in Not Ryan Spann, obviously. Roman Delice for Vittori, and you can get a bunch of lineups with, which is otherwise a pretty chalky Roman Delice, maybe a little less chalky because in those lineups where you would have left 200 on the table, most optimizers would have put Vittori in there. Um, so those two fights, I think, are really good candidates for that type of of shenanigans. Let's put it that way. Um, So if I were just going to go with what I had, right, this would be what it would look like. And then listen, I don't want to get into the plays, but all these guys make perfect sense. And DeSantos and Vallejos, we've been over all this, right? All the guys here, with the exception of Cachoeira and Nunez, who I'm forcing in, like these are the best plays. Okay. So if I wanted to, I could just put these 150 in just like this and probably be done with it. But I think I should do at least some screening for dupes, right? I mean, I mean, I don't want to play lineups that are getting like 40 dupes. And admittedly, I probably, you know, play too many of those weird lineups that have no chance because they have a rating to have less than 5 dupes. So how do I handle this? Like how do I not ruin the whole portfolio? Okay, by just hunting dupes. Well, what I could do is, first of all, I could take out the lineups that have just like a lot of dupes, like let's say more than 10. Okay. I guess I could take those out. Or the other thing I could do, and this I got this from Redmond. He's an expert player. He doesn't even remember this. He doesn't even probably watch these, but um I was commenting on his tennis exposure once. I was looking through the sports projection site where it talks about how unique, certain entries are. And I was saying to him, like, dude, you have like these 10 lineups that have like 40 dupes. I mean, what are you doing? And he says, well, I got others that have one. And I thought about this. I mean, is that the way you're supposed to think about it? I mean, are you supposed to say, okay, as long as I have enough lineups with no dupes, I can play the lineups with 40? Or should you just be Xing out the 40? It's interesting. It really is an interesting question. So for this particular slate, what the question is posing is, should I leave these lineups in regardless of how many dupes they show? And then just build, like, we'll say we'll take the top, 100 of these or something like that, the top 75 of these, and then build another 75 lineups with, say, 0 dupes. And I can do it. Believe me, I can come up with one to project to have less than 75 dupes. Okay. Um, so I guess the first thing that I would do is see what I have in the first place. So let's just make sure we save these to the contests. We'll save these in. And then what we have to do is test these and see how many dupes these are projected to have. I mean, listen, if this is a beautiful scenario and all these have less than 10 dupes, peace, we're good. But there's just no way life is that easy. Okay. Is this the one that we had? Or was it? Wait, where were we? Yeah, it's here. Um, so let's download these first, and let's first analyze these from what SaberSim believes as far as their dupes are going to be. And the way you can do that is scroll over here, you download the spreadsheet, and then this is the throwdown, and then we could sort and see what we have. So this one, if you believe SaberSim, I mean, we kind of be in business here, right? You have a couple that are like 20, but most of them are under 10. So if I really believe that this was going to be the distribution, I mean, I'm down, but I just don't believe it. And part of the reason for that is that SaberSim, they've always been a little bit fishy with predicting dupes. They almost always under predict the dupes. I could speculate why, but I'm not going to. Um, so we have to test it in another way. So what we're going to do is we are going to pull up the PayDirt portfolio manager tool. And I'm going to have to pause for a second while I prepare. But before I pause, I want to show you what we're going to do here. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload our projections, our ownership projections, and then the portfolio, the same lineups that I just went in there. And we're going to see how many dupes SaberSim projects. So now the way we have to do that, let's get this template. The first thing we have to do is put the projections in. Should I pause for this? Well, I'll just show you what I'm going to do, and then I'll just pause. I'm going to put all the names, the positions, whatever it is, and put them all in here. And then we're going to just see how many predicted dupes we're going to have. Okay. So let me pause this for a second. I'll put all the data in here and then I'll get back to you in a sec. So we uploaded them here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to test using, well, hold on. Let's make this a sharp field strength. Sorry. That is a difference. Okay. Come on. Somewhere. So we'll still running. Okay, so download the portfolio. Now what we're going to do is we're going to see how many dupes where is it? No, this one is, why is this stuff here? Oh, look what I did. All right, so here's a mistake that I made. This sucks. So what you have to do when you download the file, sorry, is you have to take out the extra columns. So you have to do this. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. So now we go back to the portfolio thing. We'll go back to the data load. Then we'll take this out. We'll put this back in. Come on. Oh, I did this already. So manage portfolio. Okay, so now we're good. Okay. Whew. So let's download these portfolios. Let's make it sharp again. Okay. Download portfolio. And now we'll test these. Okay, so you see already, without looking even that far. Here. The Paydor portfolio manager, I mean, it's predicting a much worse result as far as dupes go. So what we're gonna have to do then is we just can't put lineups then that project to have 43 dupes. We just can't do it. So we're just gonna have to cut off anything that has more than 10. And this is what we can use from that original list. Okay. So that original group, we could still have 93. Okay. 93 of those 150 that's fine. But we're going to have to come up with 57 others that have 10 or less dupes. Okay. We're just going to have to. Um, so the other way we could do this is just give ourselves a bigger pool to choose from. Okay. Um, so if we went 300, for example, and then we just took the top ones with less than 10 dupes, I mean, we can certainly do that also, right? Or like we said, I could eat these lineups with the 40 dupes or whatever, and then just play with zeros. Or we could extend to 300 and only play the rest of the lineups with zeros. So this is where again you get into full, fancy play syndrome mode, and you're really asking for it. Or the other thing you could do is with the what 56 lineups left. That's where you can start doing funny business with those whatchamacallits again. Uh um Span Vittori. So maybe we should go back to those lineups with the 40 dupes, for example, and see which of those, if we can, had span in them. Or the other thing we could do is just mass swap out for whatchamacallit, for span from Acosta, just like that. So these are the things that we have to deal with. So why don't we kind of cheat? This is what I want to do. So let's first put in these 93 lineups, okay? And then we're going to actually make dupes of some of them. Okay, so let's do this. So let's go MMA, download. And then we'll put these over here. And then, so what was that, 93? So let's do, so how many are left, did we say? 57. So we'll take the top 57, for example. Boom. No, put these here. So we're going to have dupes of some of them, of like 57 lineups. And then what we can do is manually curate those and do that little salary trick that we alluded to earlier. So, for example, we probably see a bunch of twos here when we pull these up, or even three, like for example. So what we can do, okay, is these lineups that have, say, either Vittori or Acosta, we'll just swap them out for the other one. So like here, to give a variation. So like this one, for example, like this one, it's got two. So let's take this one, and instead we'll do Vittori for Delice. Save a little, leave a little bit of money on the table, etc. Right? And then here, right, this one has Acosta. Now we could probably do this more streamlined, right? And this one's got span. It's got to either have span or Vittori for us to be able to pull this off. Okay, so good. So, I mean, it's got to either have Acosta or Vittori for us to pull this off. So we'll go to Lice. So this is a little bit different because this is a little old school. It's going through what should we call it? it's going through individually, instead of like using the technology or whatever, but it's fine. And this one as well. This one has neither, so we're gonna have to deal with this one. But I would figure most of these, let's see, is Vittori, so we'll change Vittori again to delete say. Little small thing, right? And then we'll just have to go through all of them and do that. Now I'm not going to stay on with you while I do that, but I think that's pretty reasonable. I mean, all these lines again. I have no idea who I have, nor do I really care. Um, and then if there's a line that has um, neither Vittori nor Acosta, then we'll just have to do a manual change, which is fine. Um, so this guy right here, see this one has Vittori, so we'll take him out and play delete say in this one, etc. So that's what I'm going to probably do for this slate. Is again, I did my dupe finders, so to speak, and whatchamacallit, I did my dupe finders, and then I stuck with basically everything else, with the exception of this kind of hand swapping of Vittori for delete say and uh spam for Acosta. And then you'll see, by the way, these are duped, which means I'm going to have both delete say and Vittori oh, this one is no, I don't want to swap this one out. Yeah, I will swap this one out in the throwdown, but not in the knockout. So again, this is not something we usually do. But now one thing you could do is I could just mass swap out like all the guys I just mentioned. But then I'm going to end up with zero, pretty much, of both Vittori and Costa, and we don't want to do that. But okay, you don't have to hang around to watch me do this manually, but I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. And again, as for everything else, I have no idea who I have, nor do I really care. Um, and 24 hours from now, we'll see how we do. Actually, we won't see how we do 24 hours from now. We'll see how we do a little further from then. Actually, you want to see what kind of percentages we have? I mean, we may as well, right? Let's take a look. So DeSantos, see the top plays are still up here, right? And I'm getting 30% of Nunez and Cachoeira. All I'm going to end up with, honestly, is probably pretty overweight on Delitze. I'll probably end up kind of overweight on Span. But the rest of these are just still the guys that I liked. But I did do a little bit of dupe filtering. So we'll just see. We'll just see what happens. All right. Again, too much, too fancy, probably, but that's the way we're doing it. Good luck, everybody.